All right. So that was a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect going into that movie. I don't understand why it got bad reviews. I'll put it that way. But I do understand why certain people who only like certain types of Marvel movies don't like this movie because this is a different type of Marvel movie.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to get into that.
Go ahead.
All right. So this is Eternals, the 26th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, directed by Chloe Zhao from a screenplay she wrote with Patrick Burleigh, Ryan Firpo, and Kaz Firpo, based on characters created by Jack Kirby. The Eternals are a team of ancient aliens who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years. When an unexpected tragedy forces them out of the shadows, they are forced to unite against mankind's most ancient enemy, the Deviants. Since we're going full spoilers, I can say this. That synopsis is a crock. We'll get into why in a second, but for better for worse, Marvel did a really good job at not spoiling a goddamn thing in the trailers.
Yeah. I had no idea what I was getting into this movie, so I was very happy with. And they didn't do their normal big movie bullshit where they just point blank lie in the trailers.
I mean, it was a live omission for certain plot details, but we'll get to that.
Well, I mean stuff where they're like, Thanos has got 5 things in the glove, but we're gonna CGI 3 of them out of it. I'm talking shit like that.
Oh, like little things.
Like little things, or like when Spider-Man in the Infinity War is like swinging through the air, but realistically he's got Mantis and Drax with him, but in the trailer it's just him. There wasn't like stuff like that. But yeah, they didn't lie with the trailer, which I'm very okay with. But
okay, so to start things off, kind of like we've been doing with all the Marvel films, how little were you aware of the Eternals going into this?
I think I knew more about Black Knight than the Eternals.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then Black Knight wasn't even in the movie.
He's sequel bait, for better or for worse.
It's like, Kit Harington was like one of the first people announced in the fucking cast, and he's in the movie for 10 minutes.
If even.
He's in 1, 2. No, I was gonna say he's almost in 2 post-credit scenes, but he's in the end of the movie and he gets a post-credit scene. What the fuck? The only thing, and I looked it up beforehand, was Thena, and there was something about her that didn't end up happening that I thought I read about that I don't think ended up happening. I thought I remembered something about how Thena was someone that I thought I remember reading that one of the that I thought it was Thena that was like reading something here that she was like convinced or like helped betray the Eternals at one point and had something going on with a deviant. I wasn't exactly sure, but
I don't recall that anywhere.
The revelation that Crow's willingness is Thena turned against Icarus to help save Crow's life, but later relinquished her title to Icarus. She learned the brain mind was furious with Crow and she forgave her. Okay. Yeah, there was something going on with the Eternals, but I couldn't exactly remember. Crow. Something with a deviant named Crow, where she was allied with him for some reason. I can't exactly remember why. But anyway. The whole thing, I was trying to look if there's any kind of details, but yeah, it's this movie was really different. And I keep saying I don't know what I was expecting when I got this movie. There's barely any fighting in this entire movie, and it's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah. And strangely enough, that never bothered me.
No, it never did. It was a very character-driven thing, and I think that's what turned a lot of people off from it.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. The one word that almost every single reaction has said was dense.
That's a good way to put it. Because they let a lot. I was talking with my roommate about a lot about this because I just went and saw it with him. Letting moments breathe was a very big thing. He said that happened quite a lot in this movie. But yeah.
How I described it on Twitter and in my review is like the story itself is very, grand and epic, but at its core, it's a character drama.
Yeah. How people wanting different things, each of them having their own little purpose, and man, I had to just a quick aside because I have to mention this. I read something like right before I got to go into Eternals that this movie was not being shown in certain Middle Eastern countries, and I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to read the article, and I'm just going to go into the movie and see if I can guess the moment.
Oh, it
pissed off.
It is extremely obvious why it's not in those countries.
I was like, same-sex marriage. And one of them happens to be a black man. God, I love how the world can't change for certain things. Just can't.
It's frustrating, but not surprising.
Oh, I hate it. It doesn't surprise me, but I hate it. And my roommate just turned to me. He's like, I think we found out what it was. Like, I think so too. But yeah. It was cool that with 10 characters, I got to feel like I got to know all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that was a little bit out there was Droog. He was the only one that kind of just was there, in my opinion. Like, he was just the one that got irritated the most and then just went, brah, I'm going to the Amazon.
I thought for a second that he was supposed to be the villain until we get to the actual villain, which we'll get to in a minute, but
one of the 3 or 4 villains. But yeah, there was a lot of twists and turns. Like you said, nothing got ruined in the movie. And I thought a lot of people that I saw bitching in reviews said that the time jumping wasn't done well between moments. And I don't think that's the case.
Actually, I want to unpack that a little bit because I'm confused what they mean by not done well. Not like do they mean like how they jump back from like different points of time felt like random and inconsistent?
Like, and they don't even. All the reviews I've read just said that it was not done well and no one would elaborate. And that's when I'm like, when your only descriptor is not done well, you just didn't like that as a thing and you can't come up with a way to complain about it. So therefore, I don't want to read the rest of your review because you're a human being with thought and emotion and you can figure out why you didn't like something, and not done well is not a good descriptor. That is one of the things that irritates me the most is it wasn't done right. Okay. How, in your opinion, would it have been done correctly? I can't come up with it. Okay, then don't say it wasn't done right if you can't come up with even a smidgen of an idea of what the form of correct is. Because I could ask my nephew, who's 9, and he could give me something. Because he knows how to form an opinion. That just means someone else didn't like it, and I don't like it either. That's what it is. 900 times out of 10, that's what it is.
Yeah, this sounds about right.
Y'all want to see time jumping done incorrectly? Go play Beyond Two Souls. Because when you put the events in sequential order, if they cannot make sense viewing them from beginning to end, then you did it incorrectly, in my opinion.
And do you feel like if these events were put in sequential order, they'd make sense?
I honestly think it'd be worse off because they only time jumped to events that would make sense to tell a plot detail of why they had an argument in the past. They didn't just randomly jump to them cracking jokes about Genghis Khan because we need a comedy bit. They didn't do anything like that. They went to a moment that made sense for a plot detail, had the moment, and it was gone. And then they went back to present. They spent a shockingly low amount of time in the past. From what I've heard of them covering 7,000 years in this movie, they spent an unbelievably low amount of it not in present day.
And if they spent any more time in the past, this movie would have to be like at least 4+ hours.
Yeah,
to cover everything.
Exactly, and I'm fine with that. They told details where they needed to tell details, and it was perfect. They didn't overstay their welcome. Like, I think certain moments didn't need to hang as long as they did. Like, I honestly believe this movie did not need to be 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think it could have been 2 hours, if you ask my honest opinion. There's a lot of times where they're kind of just hanging out to me sometimes, and like expressing a plot detail. Like, not even the past stuff. It was just in the present where they're kind of just traveling and dealing with their emotions, where I'm kind of like, these are full-grown people, and I'm a fully grown adult. I understood what you were trying to say. Trim a little bit. Maybe 2:15. Didn't have to be damn near 2 hours, 40 minutes. Didn't have to be.
I'm hard-pressed to think of like a specific scene that would have cut. Maybe trim down the Amazon moments a little bit.
Like, not even specific scenes. I'm talking scenes, just time scenes had. Like, you know how people go through and trim like scene transitions and all that stuff and just like magically suck 10 minutes out of a film?
Oh,
That's
sure.
the kind of thing I'm talking about. There's just certain moments of like dead air in certain spots that just need to be there, in my opinion. That like, I don't know. There just could have been lower moments. But that's just me. Everyone has their own opinions. Some people would have liked this movie to have been 3 hours long. I'm not one of those people.
I don't know. Maybe the Snyder cut spoiled me, but if you're going to tell an epic, my opinion is like don't hold back, tell the epic. But I can kind of see your point of view as well. Maybe it'll be more noticeable the second time I see this, where certain scenes do kind of overstay their welcome.
And the thing with the Snyder cut, where I'll agree with you with, is they were telling an epic. The problem was that wasn't a 4.5 hour long character study.
True.
This was a 2.5 hour long character study that had a half an hour of fighting in it. I am okay with a character study, but when it's 10 characters and eventually the movie's got to go and have a plot as well, when you manage to pull off describing all 10 characters and I still felt like you had a little bit of fat you could have trimmed, you did a good job identifying the characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's like, again, some people like certain things, some people whatever.
Now with that said, we do need to talk about the villains.
Villains,
yes.
Before we get to the villains, we should talk about each person, like details that we liked, because if we start talking about villains, we're gonna skip half the plot in the entire movie.
All right. Yeah, we should get to the Eternals themselves.
Yeah, like my honest favorites were Gilgamesh, Thena, and
Kingo.
Kingo was up there. He was a little bit much for me at times. I love Camille Nanjiani, but there was a little bit of points where it was a bit much. But now I can't think of her name. It's not Icarus. What's her name?
Sprite?
No, the girl that was in love with Icarus. What's her name?
Cersei.
Cersei, thank you. Really liked her. Man, and can you talk about an upgrade? You go from being a B-pit, B-part Kree
to the lead
Captain Marvel to the lead and an ensemble cast by an Academy Award-winning director of a powerhouse of actors.
Oh yeah, that's this is such a glow up. Not just within the MCU, but just I think this might be her best performance.
Like Angelina Jolie is third or fourth billing to you. Let that soak in. That's insane.
I even like how she wasn't necessarily trying to steal the spotlight. She was she was honestly kind of like fairly subdued and really gave a heartbreaking performance at times.
She did. I don't think that was one thing again with 10 characters. I didn't feel like anyone was used more than they needed to be. Like the characters that were going to have more plot relevance got more time, which made sense. And again, like with 10 characters, it's really hard, especially with 10 characters with vastly different powers. They were very okay with splitting them up. Who were your favorites out of them?
I think my number one is Cersei, because not gonna lie, kind of have a big crush on Gemma Chan.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy.
My number two would be probably Kingo, because well, not all the jokes land. I think Kumail delivered like some of the best lines.
Yeah.
And then my third favorite is probably, let me see if I have his name right. Fastos.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He has a great moment he has one of my favorite lines with a villain later on in the movie. But yeah, it's very hard to have 10 different characters and have all their powers like make sense. And like when you find out the true purpose of the Eternals, I was always kind of like at the beginning of the movie, I'm going, so you guys are meant to hunt to hunt deviants. And then it's like, I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, how the hell is your power helping hunt deviants? And then when they go on talking about helping and all that, it made sense. It really did. And yeah, how they presented everybody was great. And I loved how they didn't have to have them in their uniforms the entire time either.
Same. Their uniforms looked good, but I honestly just got a kick out of, for example, Icarus fighting a deviant in like casual in like just a shirt and jeans.
Yeah, and like, man, one thing it bugs the shit out of me, and it is not Madden's fault. But I wish they would have done something in this movie to make him look less like Sebastian Stan.
Oh, is it because of the haircut?
It's the haircut. They have shockingly similar jaw lines. Like it was their eyes and a little bit of his nose that you could look at different. But there was just scenes where you catch him off and I'm like, oh my God. And the accent obviously helped. But yeah, it was something else. But yeah, just them fighting in street clothes and them interacting with regular people. It was pretty great. One thing I did have to explain about the Eternals to my roommate is I'm like, they're kind of like, from what I've read, they're aping a lot of the stuff from like Olympus, because like Olympia and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He's like, question. I'm like, yeah, because he's got like Sprite, Icarus, a couple other things. He's like, why is she called Athena and not Athena when they still call her the goddess of war? I'm like, Fantastic question. I don't know.
And you know the funniest thing about it? There is an Athena in Marvel Comics.
Is that why? Okay, got it. Like, is it like with it's like Hercules, like Athena's actually a thing?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, that makes sense. That's what I kind of figured. But like, I knew Hercules is a thing because of Civil War and a couple other things. Okay, like Athena's actually a thing, so they just based her off Athena. Got it. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Because then there's one of those things where they like to play fast and loose, and then they're like, why is he named Icarus? He's Icarus, and then I made up the tale about the guy flying into the sun. Like, it's just like
it is kind of fun to play around with other other mythologies and religions.
Yeah, it is. And one thing that's weird, I always thought she was going to show up in a Marvel movie, and if I'm remembering her name right, it's Quasar.
Quasar.
She's known for making like ethereal weapons. And now I never think she's going to show up in a Marvel movie. Because we had Thena.
There are a lot of cosmic characters that we still haven't seen yet.
Mm-hmm. And she was in if I'm not mistaken, she was with the Guardians when the Guardians first appeared in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, if it's the character I'm correctly thinking of. But yeah, the cast had great chemistry. I feel like they nailed absolutely everybody that they casted.
Yeah. I'm a touch disappointed that Salma Hayek as Ajax wasn't in the movie as much as advertised, but
yeah,
given her role in the story, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's just that like it's so weird with some of this stuff where they come in and it's like, wow, they got Selma Hayek to be in a Marvel movie, and then it's okay, all right, and then like, yeah, and I get it. Not everybody's gonna be used for everything. Like, is it Glenn Close? Can't think of her name.
She was I think she was the head of the Nova
head of the Nova Corps. I just can't remember if she had a name or not. And then it's just kind of like, yeah, she's going to be in a lot. And Thanos comes around. By the way, I destroyed the whole planet. They're dead. But yeah, I do tell you, there was part of me that was expecting. And let me know if you thought this was weird. Were you expecting to see Black Knight in the past?
At one point, yes. Like it took me a while before I realized, oh wait a minute, Black Knight is literally just a dude with the sword that just happens to be evil.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, cool, they're going to show some guy that looks eerily like Kit Harington that's Scottish or whatever, and he's in the past. And I'm just like, no, they never showed it. And he's like, yeah, this rings remind your heritage. The entire movie, I'm like, I've seen Kit Harington in so little. So then all of a sudden, halfway through, she gives the ring, I'm like, fuck, that's right, that's Kit Harington. And I'm like, shoot, he's supposed to be Black Knight. I'm like, why is he in the present day? What is shit? But yeah, and I like how they were very good about sprinkling plot details, like with the now I can't remember what the memory disease was. The fake memory glitch that they make up that Thena had because the reprogramming didn't work.
They gave it a name, but I'm
it's a two-word name, but like all of how they like put stuff in, I was hoping that wasn't going to be this is just something that Eternals gets for a plot device to have a fight scene in Ripperder, but no, they used it. They didn't introduce something they weren't going to use, which is something I appreciate in these space movies. They can always just pop something in there for a scene to be like, someone's going to get that. No, they used everything, which was nicely appreciated. And a lot of the plot is just going up. Ajax gets killed, and we're gathering the team. So we could kind of start to talk about did that main deviant have a name?
I don't think any of the deviants had a name.
Like, I wondered if that was a Marvel, like an actual, like, well-known deviant. Like, is it as known for, like, Super Skrull is just like the Skrull that was able to take all of the Fantastic Four's powers. Like, I had no idea if that was a specific one that was just special.
Wait. I stand corrected. Apparently that's supposed to be Crow.
Really? Hold on. Then if that's
according to Wikipedia, the deviant leader Crow also appears in the film. As will the Celestials, Erisham the Judge, and Nezar the Calculator.
Now, like, there's a thing about him in Thena. I swear to freaking God that I read. I just can't remember where, but it's whatever. But yeah, so okay, that's Crow, because that's what he was in that thing I was reading off earlier. Okay. But
and you know what? In hindsight, it does kind of make sense for that to be Crow, because why else would Thena have, you know, a kind of personal vendetta against this deviant?
Oh, well, I guess because of Gilgamesh.
Sure,
but
like
yeah, in movie, yeah,
in the film that makes sense, but you know, the people at Marvel are thinking like 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, they're like, what's a thing we can throw in here? We're not just going to do a random thing. We want it to be that. So, okay, that makes sense. And then if we want to get to, I guess, shock terror, Flavorite brand Superman, as I like to call him at the end there. I love how they just called him Superman. They mentioned Batman. They mentioned Alfred. 20 minutes later, they're mentioning Superman. They went from never mentioning a DC comic book hero to nailing two of the Trinity within like 20 minutes.
If you're one of those people who just like, whose mind will go down rabbit holes, it does kind of beg the question of, well, does the DC universe exist in the Marvel universe?
Yeah, it's like, does someone have a Batman toy somewhere? But yeah, I do just like, I just don't wear a cape. I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Because if none of you mentioned how much you were very, very, very close to your flight patterns, how you shot your arms back when you fired out your laser beams, to how your mannerisms were incredibly close to Henry Cavill's in Man of Steel, I was going to get a little irritated if you didn't mention it once. Just one time.
That's kind of thing with like, none of these movies are made in a vacuum. So even if it wasn't like completely intentional, like these movies make minimum $500 million.
Yeah. And there was just like, there comes to a point of where they had to make all of the Eternals different. And I was like talking with my roommate, where my roommate was like, what do you think they could have done to make him not be like that? And then my roommate thought of like, okay, maybe you could have him use a bow. I'm like, yeah, but then the bow wouldn't be as versatile, and you'd be like making up weapons like Thena, and it would be another ranged guy like Kingo. And then he's like, but he's ranged with his eyes. I'm like, I know, but they don't have Cyclops, and now they're never gonna fucking have Cyclops. And it's like, they had to try and make them different. And after a while, I think they just got pigeonholed into being like, well,
there's only so many ways you can play with that archetype.
Yeah. And so we get to find out that Aramesh is just a little guy that likes to play with his petri dish and basically uses planets as incubators for celestials, to where, if I understand this correctly, sends the deviants to the planet, lets them kill all the things that are going to kill humans, then sends the Eternals to kill the deviants and makes the Eternals watch after and make sure the humans don't kill enough of each other to make sure the Eternal pops in the incubator.
I have to ask how close to the source material like is that beat?
I don't know. But like they bring up these seeds. Isn't that what Ego put on that put on Earth in Guardians 2?
Yeah, if not,
or am I imagining that?
I mean, it's close, if not the exact same thing.
And then, like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I get what they're doing, and there's no way they thought about this. But okay, so deviants. They put the deviants as an apex predator to kill all the predators that are going to harm humans. Cool. They got rid of the dinosaurs. Then they're like, cool, we need to send the Eternals in to kill all the deviants. Then the Eternals need to stay around to make sure the humans don't kill themselves. Why don't you just send in Eternals to watch them from day one?
Yeah. And when you put it that way, the deviants are nothing more than like a distraction.
They are. All they are is a plot point to say, hey, we needed the Eternals to have a thing to where we're like, hey, why are we here just cultivating these planets from these idiots? That's the one hiccup where I'm like, you make the deviants real freaking pointless when you describe it that way. And then it's like, later on, he's like, so I made a major flaw in the deviants. I made the deviants so that they can evolve and steal powers from Eternals.
Whoops.
Oopsie daisy. Ah, my breadsticks. And then I made Eternals immortal, and I had to wipe their memories so they don't remember that we sacrificed the planet. I'm like, okay, Aramis, I'm trying to follow you here. Why don't you just make a new patch of deviants that can't do that?
You know, as much as I love that movie, I am not above making fun of
I'm not above making fun of it either. I thought this movie was great. Absolutely great. There's just one or two points where they're like, we made the all-powerful thing that could just go, poof, here's the thing. And then he just went, nah, me and my roommate were laughing on the way home like, guys, I got a lot on my plate. I'm just sitting here watching these planets go to hell and birth things. I ain't got enough time to just go poof and make a new batch of deviants. What do you think I'm doing on a Tuesday? But like, there's the plot falls apart if you think about it too much, and that's with a lot of movies, and that's why the Cinema Sins thing is a channel. And I can tell you right now, he's going to have a 10-minute tirade about, let's talk about Aramesh's plan. This is the one timer I'm going to agree with him. But it's not a big thing to where it's kind of like just, he made a thing to clean up his mess because it's whatever. And I had to laugh. Where if we stopped at Infinity War, Thanos is a hero.
Oh my god, you're right.
Because he chopped in half the development cycle of a Celestial. And I just leaned to my roommate and went, Thanos did nothing wrong.
Yeah, because what he did is he bought Earth like a few more years.
He did. He bought them so much time. He killed half of all sentient life across the galaxy, not just Earth. All of these planets. He just halved them. The more we joked about that, we're like, Thanos did everyone a favor. And then it's just like, oh, wait, hold on. Ajax is like, wait a minute. This villain bought us time, and we just zap it back with this, and we care about them. It's like, the recontextualizing the MCU has done of Thanos in like the past year and a half is ridiculous.
Everything from the Infinity Stones themselves being like pieces, like paperweights in the multiverse, to everything in What If,
to now
and
this,
now this,
to where they borderline made Thanos an anti-hero. If only he knew, and he could have shoved it in their faces. I was helping you all, and you just couldn't see it. I'm going to joke about that for the rest of the MCU's existence. Thanos did nothing wrong.
On a more serious note, how did you like the ultimate twist of Icarus being the one who A, killed Ajax, and B, was basically the inciting incident for the whole film?
I thought it was very weird how Ajax was just kind of awesomely displayed in a dead husk in the middle of her driveway. Like, what did he do? Kill her and then drag her out in the yard? Like, what? What? Like,
and of course, to make it convincing, he had to burn her barn.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. So then throughout the entire film, I'm like, he's hiding something. He is being awfully squeamish, and he's not talking, and he's a person that could have got a lot of stuff done if need be, and could have hastened this process tenfold. And he's just kind of like, what's the plan, boss? I'm not in charge. Ask her. Like, why are you being so pissy about this? You're supposed to love her, and you're really happy that she's in charge. But now every time when we talk about this plan about stopping the Celestial, you're kind of just like, I don't know what we should do. How should I know? I don't know things. I'm like, and when he walks away off all the end of the world, I'm like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden he's just like, and then they're sitting at the house 6 days ago. I'm like, you fucking killed Ajax. Like, before that scene even started, I'm like, I knew it. And then they had, man, it reminded me so much. Anyone watching this has played Life is Strange to True Colors. There's this moment where the main character, Alex, her power is that she's a incredibly strong empath. And she could just like radio waves could feel people's emotions. And there was this accident in this place called Paradise Falls. Is that what it is? I believe. But where this stuff got buried and they're trying to uncover what's wrong. And then this guy who you've trusted the entire time, this nice bartender, takes her out to the mine. He's like, the Typhon did something. I know what they are. He's like, I know what they did and I'm going to show you. Takes her out there. And then all of a sudden she just gets a pulse of sad emotions. He's like, Jed, why are you sad? Turns around and he shoots her and she falls down a well. I'm just kind of like, you're leading Ajax towards a thing. He's like, I found them. They were frozen in the ice. Like, you're going to push her down and kill her because she is one Celeste. She's an Eternal that has no offensive capabilities. You're going to Mufasa her clean off that cliff. And he did. And then he just scoops her up and like he turned from being Superman to Homelander.
And a little bit of Omni-Man too, towards the end of the film, when he's like, true. Where he leaves the atmosphere. He's like, you know what? Fuck you, Earth. And just pisses off.
We're gonna have to talk. At the end, because I still don't fucking know how I feel about that scene. But and then you have like the one of the coolest ending scenes ever, which is gonna raise a lot of questions if they never mention it ever again in any of these Marvel movies. They have the big showdown trying to stop Aratet?
Tiamat.
I'm sorry. Tiamat from being birthed. And it's basically all of them versus Sprite and Icarus. And then you have everybody gets their cool moment, which I appreciate. And like you had what is their speedster's name? They barely ever said it.
Give me 1 second.
But
Makari.
Makari. They had all these cool moments. Makari had a great. They had basically the Justice League versus Superman, and it was awesome. Makari was great, and
I think she might be my 4th favorite.
Yeah, because like she's just one of those people that like she used all of her things to a great ability, and I'm just glad that a character that cool can be represented in that ability. So it's just like everyone has their inclusion, and she was a great inclusion. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
And just the whole ending scene, everything about that ending scene is ridiculous when you come down to it. It might have been somehow that movie had higher stakes than Endgame. Almost.
Like it's still borderline preventing Armageddon, just a different kind of Armageddon.
Just a different kind of Armageddon, and only for Earth versus Thanos, which will do all of the entire galaxy. But yeah, they have their assignments, they go through everything, and it's one of those things where I didn't feel where anyone's what I want to say motivations were out of place. Sprite's a touch,
just a hair.
I felt the love connection thing was a bit much, in my opinion, in certain parts, but
it's I think it's only hard to believe just because of her age and her stature.
Yeah. And like and it was one of those things where you kind of had Makari and Druig were I don't know a thing, and then you had Gilgamesh and Thena were I don't know a thing, and then Circe and Icarus were a thing. It's like
even like Makari and Kingo were kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's weird. And then there was just like it was like I'm the only one that didn't have like she's gonna fall in love with the leader, and like they even made the Peter Pan reference. It's like okay, and I get it. She wants to have a family, and all of that was good. I guess the only one who wanted to get rid of them, and she was mad at them, was this. And she's like, I can forget about all of it finally, about all the things that humankind has reminded me that I wanted with the family and all of that. That was one of the only parts where I was kind of just like, bleh about at the end.
Yeah, everyone else like their motivations were fairly consistent.
Yeah. And just everything with the fight scenes. One of my favorite things was Festus? No. Fastus, when he shuts down Icarus and he's got him in that like holding thing with the rings. He's like, you have no idea how long I've wanted to clip your wings. And he like tries to laser eye him and it stops halfway and it shrinks back into his head. I'm like, that is awesome.
I love that.
Oh, it was so great. So great. Yeah, they all had their great moments. It was just I'm still trying to figure out. It's like we're going to be getting more of these movies where they have different types of endings, and it kind of irritates me that people, and I guarantee people are going to bitch about this ending to no end because there wasn't a fight with Tiamat. I'm like,
I didn't need there to be a
no, I
fight.
didn't either.
Because it's a giant celestial. How are you going to battle that thing? And B, um, you know, not every superhero film needs to end in um not every superhero film needs to end in punches.
No, I agree, and it's one of the things that I kind of agree with Patty Jenkins on. I think she handles them kind of differently, but it's like they stopped it, and it was again a character study. Outside of Thena killing Crow, is it Crow, right?
Yeah, Crow.
Outside of Thena killing him because he was the guy that deserved it. A lot of it was just ideals clashing with each other. And that can be very okay. I'm okay if a story can be done without people just beating the shit out of each other. And it doesn't have to be, give or take, there was still a lot of CGI. It doesn't have to be two giant blocks of CGI smashing into each other all the time.
Right.
And you weren't going to get anyone, in my opinion, who went into this going, okay, it needs to be the exact same. We're getting a lot of different things now.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get ready for some things to be weird because I'm sorry to tell y'all, we're getting a Fantastic Four movie. And you would best believe that at some point, Galactus's happy purple ass is going to show up. And
Oh yeah.
something's going to have to get done with him. And they're not going to spend a 5-hour-long movie showing every single Marvel character attempting to fight him.
Well, before we get too far ahead, couple of things I want to talk about here. One, the score for this movie was great.
Dude, that theme that kicked in when they were starting to fight Icarus was awesome. It's plain and simple and fit perfect.
I swear they've I feel like they've been listening to complaints from people who said like the music is kind of lacking. So now they're getting like top tier composers to be like, you want a Marvel theme? We'll give you a Marvel theme.
And like the thing that I wish the MCU had more of, and they're starting to kind of get there, they have one with Spider-Man, so it's technically a Sony thing. I like to have characters to have themes.
Same.
And you don't need to have it with everybody. But like if that theme when the Eternals were fighting Icarus, if that comes back anytime they get in a fight scene, it'd be awesome. Because like that remix of the Spider-Man, you could do whatever a spider can. That orchestral remix that shows up in the Holland trilogy is fucking phenomenal. And it just gives me goosebumps. And I'm like, Spider-Man's about to whoop someone's ass when I'm hearing that. And like, I want to, like, they make jokes about it in memes, like when the Doom music kicks in. There's a reason why you're like, this is his theme. He's about ready to kill someone. It helps a lot. It's why people love the Avengers theme. Because it's the fucking Avengers theme. It's really good. And you know that the fucking cavalry's here and shit's about to go down. Like when that hits, when the portals start opening in Endgame, if that was just some random Joe Schmo random beat over that, it would not have felt as good. But you've come to know that over time, and you're going to keep having these characters appear. You need to have top quality scores that you can reuse at certain points for not just nostalgia, but just for character moments. Music helps a lot. And they don't need to be played all the time. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned Gurren in a Marvel movie review yet, but they play Happily Ever After fucking once.
and it's like still the most iconic piece of music.
It's awesome. It's great. And they never needed to reuse it. Why? Because that was the one moment when they needed it. And if you're going to come up with those one moment songs that never need to be played again, but everyone remembers the speech or the ass beating that is accompanied by that one piece of music, I'll never forget that as long as I live. Ever. Because it's great. Because you can hear, because when you hear it again, you can imagine the beats with the timing, with the song, with the entrance and how their footsteps, it's everything. When it's timed out great, you can't beat it. You just can't. It can look visually amazing, but if you can pair music with it, it sticks in your head better. It helps.
It does.
But yeah, anyway, I went a lot going on scores there, but go ahead.
The last thing we need to talk about are the two post-credit scenes. Well, the mid-credit scene and then the post-credit scene.
Or the ending of the movie, and then those two, because shit happens before we get there.
Yeah. We should address that first.
They freeze Tiamat. He's just a fucking iceberg. I'm like, if that does not get addressed in future Marvel movies, how they have half of a fucking Celestial just out of the ocean, froze, and then nothing's gonna go on with it. I'm like, if that never gets mentioned in a Marvel movie again, I will have an aneurysm. I'm not kidding. I will lose my shit. But again, that could just, with the whatever time wipe, that could get erased. They're like, well, Tiamat just disappeared. And then they just, only 3 of them decided to stay for whatever reason. Apparently. They never really decided. And then I suppose, well, it makes sense for plot details because of the end credit scene. But then you get the start of Kit. Is it Dane? I believe it's
Dane.
Dane. Yeah. Dane Whitman. Which I would have to ask you a question because I heard someone's voice who has not been in the MCU yet, and I do not think it's who I think it was, but it sounded like who I thought it was. But they have Dane starting to talk to Circe about, okay, no more secrets. I have some stuff going on too that I need to talk with you about. Then Aramis is just there.
Yeah, he just bursts in. It's like, hey, sorry to interrupt your big moment, but I need to borrow these 3.
Let's go. And then I'm just like, this needs to get mentioned. Someone in the next movies needs to go, hey, remember when the giant six-eyed creature appeared for 2 seconds in Earth's orbit and then no one mentioned it again? And then he basically goes, all right, you little shitheads. Apparently this Earth is worth saving. I'm going to look through your memories, and if you don't have a good case, I'm frying them. I wasn't expecting that.
Seems like a very strict boss thing to do. Like, okay, you can stay, but on one condition.
Yeah, exactly. As long as your kids weren't shitheads, in my opinion, they can stay. But I get to choose if they were shitheads and not you. You don't get to make a choice. And then, yeah, that was basically that. And then you get to see Kit Harington staring into space because he's going to do something. But then we get the end credit scene. So,
okay, so the first one, you got the rest of the team hanging out in the ship, being like, "Man, where are they?" And then Harry Styles,
yes,
as Star Fox comes bursting in, being like, "Guys, your friends are in trouble."
Yeah, I also love how this was such a, hey, no one's gonna have a fucking clue who this guy is, so we're gonna mention some things. Pip comes drunkily teleporting in and then goes blah de blah de blah de blah, and so everyone who's seen MCU movies knows he's also Thanos' brother.
Yeah, of course.
That was very much a, hey, no one's gonna have a fucking clue who this guy is, and they're gonna think we ripped off a Nintendo character.
Oh, so that was Patton Oswalt. It sounded like him. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah. Because I'm just like, and my roommate, his entire family is Nintendo diehards. They've played almost anything that's ever had a Nintendo brand on it. And I'm like, are they really going to call him Star Fox? I don't know what his reaction is going to be to them calling him Star Fox. And then they called him Star Fox. I'm like, wow. So they aren't just going to say his name. They actually called him Star Fox. And they put him in a pretty comics accurate outfit.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Wikipedia article, and compared to the live action costume, yeah, it's shockingly accurate.
I didn't think they were gonna go with that because that one's a bit Saturday morning cartoonish, but they did.
So now I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole and looking at like all of the members of the Eternals, and yeah, they did it. I think they did a good job narrowing this cast down to
Yeah.
10.
And if they get a sequel, which again, where it's like they're in space now, and they're like, we're gonna go find your friends. Are we not gonna hear from them again until another Eternals movie? Or are we gonna run into them in Guardians?
Honestly, that's a good question.
It's like,
Because the thing is, well, if you want to be pedantic, we have opened the Marvel cosmic floodgate ever since 2014.
yeah,
But like now that the Eternals are introduced, and we're entering a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie on
we
top
also
of
have Sword.
yeah, so we've got Sword, we've got the Guardians, we've got the Guardians will show up first in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yep. And we don't know where Thor: Love and Thunder is going to go. We've got the Marvels movie.
Phase 4 is cosmic.
Phase 4 is fucking nuts, is what Phase 4 is.
Yep.
They went, we babied you for these first ones, and now Kevin gets to do whatever he wants because he played it calm for the first 10 years.
Yep.
Now we're on our 26th movie. What is this life? This shit started when I was in high school, and we're 26 movies in.
So we got one more post-credit scene, and this is the one that while I was a little upset that that Black Knight only got like 15 minutes of screen time, this scene is what made me excited for him like 50 films down the road.
Yeah, I think he's gonna just be one of those people that shows up in like 6 Marvel movies, but he never has a movie.
And you know what?
That's fine.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever really had in fact, I don't think he's ever had a solo run.
I think he's just been a member of the Defenders.
Or he was like he was in like maybe one of the lesser Avengers lineups.
Yeah.
But but yeah, for those who don't know, his whole deal is that one of his family heirlooms is a sword that's
ebony blade.
Yeah, the ebony blade, which they do actually reference earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Is
that the ebony blade? No, it's Excalibur. Like, nice.
Yeah, they want you to remember that name, the ebony blade, which is kind of funny. Like, you see him kind of pacing back and forth. Do I want to open this? Mm-hmm. I hear it's bad. Yeah. It might be evil. Yeah, I'll open it.
And then it's like death is the only reward or something like that. And now I have to ask you, that case opens up and then someone goes, are you sure you want to dig in that, Mr. Whitman? And I swear on my soul, that sounded like Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
I don't think it is. But holy balls, when I heard him talk, I looked at my roommate and said, I swear to God, that was Morgan Freeman. And I'm going to assume That's Percival, because Percival's the one that gives him the 401 on everything after he finds the blade.
Oh, I mean, I'm just looking up. I'm looking up the character of Percival.
Percival of Scandia. That helps. We also have to talk about a scene in the freaking Eternals that we didn't mention that I still don't know how I feel about. But yeah, he's the one that explains the curse in that, and
Interesting that you thought it was Morgan Freeman, because I've heard a couple different possibilities. Some people have said like that could be Mahershala Ali as Blade. I've heard other people say the Watcher. And then the other option was Fury.
could be it sounded way too kind to be Fury. Blade, to me, in my opinion, wouldn't make sense, because that's just not something, in my opinion, Blade would be even interested in. Because if it's not a vampire killing thing, I don't think he'd look into it. That's just me.
True.
I think some people kind of just drew the conclusion it's a sword, Blade's looking into it. But it's like, and I also don't think Blade would call him Mr. Whitman, in my opinion.
Yeah, good point.
That's why I'm trying to grow up. That's why I think it's Percival, but we're not gonna know. And
you're probably right that it is Percival, but
who's playing him?
That's a good
weird.
question.
Or if they just had some stock dude and they're going to announce who Percival is and it wasn't the guy who was in the trailer or in the scene.
You're probably right.
I don't know. That was a weird scene. Because that opens up him having quite a scene with this dude explaining everything with the curse and all of that. And like, that was a setup for a solo movie borderlining. That was weird. And like we just both said, we don't think he's going to get a solo movie because they have got a lot more important things than giving Black Knight a solo movie. A series, maybe?
That I could see.
That I could see. They've been very open with giving people series. And I could take a 6-episode Black Knight series. Thank you very much. I will take a 6-episode series of pretty much anything Marvel's got if they're going to keep up the content quality-wise of what they have.
Same.
The thing I was going to say, and I want to ask your opinion. So they go on earlier to say that Icarus and Sprite just totally made up the tale of Icarus. 100%, they just made it up and told people it. And at the end of the movie, he just felt so bad about almost betraying them
that he flew too close to the sun.
That he just suicides himself in the sun. I'm going to be honest, at the current moment, I am feeling that was a bit too much on the nose.
Just a tad. Just a touch.
And it felt to me where they're like, listen, this guy was perfect for this movie, but he is a touch too much exactly like Superman. So we can't let him leave this film. But we can't have the Eternals kill him because that will go against everything that they mentioned in the movie. How are we getting rid of this guy to where no one expects him to ever show up again? And you're like, oh, wait, he's Icarus. There happens to be a sun there. What if he was really melodramatic and flew into it? They did a lot of existential, thought-provoking things in this film. That was the one where I was kind of like, we're gonna do a Evangelion Fresh Takes reference here. The subtlety sledgehammer hit real hard on that one.
Yep. It's honestly the one time that they swung that hammer. because
Yeah.
everything else as far as like the existential conflicts, that was like fairly well handled. This is the one time we're like, okay, look, guys, I just want to go home. Can we just wrap this up?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm done living. I have no purpose. I'm whatever. It's, yeah, because it's like everyone else, every single time one of them had a problem, it felt like it was genuine. Everyone was built for a plot point, and it's what I keep telling people about what makes comic book movies different now than what they used to be. Where now when they make comic book movies, they come up with a plot and how what they'd like to have the character go through, and then Kevin and the director go through the old encyclopedia and go, yep, yep, that one can also show up in a movie later, so that'll work. Yep, they don't just make people up, they don't just throw people in. They have a plan and they execute it based on putting stuff in the details of what works. And that's what makes a difference nowadays. They didn't just go, we want to put blah blah in the movie. Write a script around that. They don't do that as much anymore, and that's what's making a difference nowadays.
And that's what makes the universe feel lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I like about this movie and its placement in the MCU is that, sure, like a cute reference to Doctor Strange is cute because, you know, Dane is describing a wizard, even though he's a sorcerer. But
a sorcerer is a wizard without a hat. I just thought.
but like even something like the mention of Thanos and wiping out half the population, it's all in service of the plot.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, the only time they ever pulled guys, this person's blank's relative is because they had to with Star Fox. Nobody, fucking nobody was gonna know if you just went, I'm Star Fox. And they all would have went, the Nintendo character?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them would have been. And that one is one of the ones where they're going out there. And Eternals was a movie full of ones that were out there. He was out there compared to who they put in the Eternals.
Yep.
Nobody had fucking heard of Star Fox before then. I had heard of this dude that was Thanos' brother, and then like he's also called blank, but they don't call him by that all the time. And how they've described him, from what I've read, is weird. I don't know if they're going to have him be that way in the movies. I don't feel they are, because oh boy, is he 5 different flavors of a douchebag from what I've read. And not like I'm a cosmic guy that does kooky things. No, this dude's a douchebag.
I'm nervous and excited to see how far they let the character go in that direction.
Yeah, because
it's at the end of the day, it's still a Disney movie, and they still got to keep these like PG-13. But you know, this movie boasted about Marvel's first sex scene.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you before you left. How A, do you feel that was necessary, and B, how did you feel that was handled?
Necessary is relative, but honestly, I wish they just didn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah, I wish it just would have been in there.
I mean, generally speaking, I think even movies that like push the limits of PG-13 still are a bit squeamish when it comes to sexual content.
Yeah, and it was a thing where I was fine with it, but after it was over, I was just kind of like,
that's it.
We needed to have them laying on each other, telling they love each other, and a slight bit of grunting, and that added to the plot. If you just told me they loved each other and you showed them having wedding vows after they kissed, got the message across. It didn't really spice up the MCU, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, all that was a toned down version with the clothes off of multiple scenes that have already happened in Iron Man films.
Oh, you mean like the first Iron Man where
Yeah, he sleeps with a reporter in the first 20 minutes of Iron Man. And they do about as much just with clothes on.
So yeah, there was no need for all this fanfare for basically a scene no less gratuitous than Top Gun, and that was rated PG.
Yeah, exactly. And there was, you guys want a fun game for Top Gun. Drink every time something slightly homoerotic happens, and you will be dead before they play volleyball. You could be my wingman anytime. But yeah, no. Eternals. I don't think it deserves the crap that it's getting. I don't. I honestly like this more than I like Shang-Chi, if I'm being honest.
The more I think about it, same. And this is another one of those movies where like the second the lights went up, I went ahead and purchased a second ticket.
Yeah, and I'm going to be seeing it again this weekend, gladly. And like, I had like friends of mine and my roommate's family like don't want to see it because they like heard it was terrible from reviews. Of just like, if you really trust a reviewer and 99% of the time you agree, go with it off of that. But like, if you just heard, be like, yeah, that Rotten Tomato score is terrible. Don't use what I'm about to say as gospel. But I genuinely enjoy The Love Guru, and that thing, according to everyone in existence, is a pile of molten human feces. So everyone's going to like different things.
Sure.
And this is rated worse than Thor the Dark World. And I'm going to tell you right now, this ain't anywhere near close than Thor the Dark World.
Yeah, Thor the Dark World is not good. It's I like it because I like Thor and Loki's banter.
Yep.
But that's like that is as high as the energy goes in that film. When it's not focused on them, it's a drag.
If it's not focusing on them or Darcy, in my opinion, I don't want to watch the film. But yeah, don't listen. Give this a shot, honestly, because the cast is great. They have great chemistry. It tries stuff that the MCU has not done. Like you said, it's a character study, and there's not a lot of, if any, of them in the MCU. So you need to be more welcome to stuff like this. And the second, if something gets tried different, and then critics rip it apart, and you're just like, nah, I'm good.
The analogy that I use is, I ordered a pizza and instead I get ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, just things can be good and still be different. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I'm going to go see it again. It's make me excited for Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, I kind of want him now. Really, that we said it earlier. I kind of really want him to get a like 6 to 8 episode series on Disney Plus now. Kind of really would like that. And put in the comments who the hell you think it was talking to him.
Yeah, because I've heard so many different, like, I've heard too many different theories, and none of them really align, which is actually kind of interesting.
It is, and it's really interesting that it's like, part of me also thinks that it's just a random stagehand that said something, because if they had the actor picked, I believe they would have had him get spooked and then have the camera turn and show the person saying the line.
Watch. What's going to happen is like, as we're recording this, Disney Plus Day is a week from tomorrow.
Oh, they're gonna announce who it was.
Yeah, if they already are developing a Black Knight series, they'll have that announcement ready to go by next week.
Yeah. And they said, I believe Kit Harington said something to the degree where like he had an interview, and I didn't read the interview, but the title of the interview was Kit Harington knows what's going to get done with this character in the future. Like he knows what he's going to be in.
He wouldn't say that if there wasn't some truth to it.
Yeah, exactly. So but it was good. Go see it. There was some stuff I could have done with. Like I said, I could have trimmed some fat. Mike, you really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, this movie was awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, and dude, we're like a month and 13 days from No Way Home.
And we still haven't got a second trailer.
Now, the rumors are that Sony and Disney can't agree. Again, there is nothing stating that Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield are in this movie. But there's rumors from non-reputable to reputable websites about how they can't agree to what to show in a trailer because one company wants to show blank and blank and the other one doesn't want to show blank and blank, so they can't decide on a trailer. But also there's a rumor that they've decided on a trailer and it's going to be put in front of Ghostbusters, which would make sense because Ghostbusters is at Thanksgiving.
I still firmly believe that both are in the movie, but I also believe that the reason why we haven't seen a trailer yet is because they're ironing out the details.
Yeah, it's probably a movie that you have to be very careful of what you show because there's going to be a lot of random horseshit going on in that film.
Yeah, and there's already a lot of chatter because Spider-Man on Twitter is shark infested water.
Yeah, and especially now that they finally shut me up. They showed a second Morbius trailer, and boy, did it not call him anything at fucking all.
No, it only made things worse.
No, and you want to know what also made it worse for that movie? They went, hey, cool, we got a release date. We're dumping that fucker in January. We're not fixing a thing. We're not changing a thing. We're putting her in a dumpster ground, baby.
Now watch, it turns out to be amazing, and everyone eats their words.
I am so terrified that movie is going to be hot garbage now. I am so terrified. I do like that it's like, everyone's like, huh, it's got references from every single Spider-Man film. I'm like, they showed two different ones. They're like, but that building said Oscorp. That means it's
the same font, but different. The building layout is different.
Yes, and I'm like, it's a fucking Oscorp logo. That does not mean it has to be the fucking Oscorp building from The Amazing Spider-Man. The only one that was very blatant was the cover shot photo of Tobey Maguire on a wall. That one's very blatant. That one they could have just put there to be stupid, to try and trigger people. But the Oscorp one, people, you need to shut up. My good God, you need to shut up. And then they're also like, they mentioned Black Cat in a newspaper. Oh, and they mentioned Rhino. That means that they're also going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like,
no.
Or they could be setting plot details for future movies that they've talked about because they've mentioned making a silver and black movie before.
Yep.
Or they could just be getting stupid people like you to click on articles because you won't stop talking about the movie then. But the one I will admit, and I laughed pretty freaking hard during that trailer when he goes up to, what are you? I am Venom. I'm just kidding. I'm Dr. Michael Morbius. That was freaking great. There should be no way that Morbius knows what Venom is enough to say that line, but that's one of those movie things where they just say it. And I also like how they're now like first time mentioning Venom in another movie where they're like, thought the craziest thing we had was that stupid stuff in San Francisco. I'm like, they're starting to make their own little universe. So, oh boy, you better hope Morbius lands, because otherwise you're going to have... I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know how they're going to handle him. Because he's not seen... I haven't seen a villain in that movie yet. Have they even announced one?
My biggest fear is that the movie is going to be sort of a vampiric play on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I definitely think they're going to go for that, but I don't know if they can maintain an entire movie and never have a villain with that.
Oh, but there's probably going to be a villain.
I know, it's so weird that they haven't even mentioned it. Like, not even a showing. Ain't gonna be Vulture. Because they ain't gonna show Blade in a freaking Morbius movie. I can tell you right now.
I know who the villain is. They haven't said his name. Like, they haven't said his name or showed what he looks like in the trailer yet, but I'm pretty sure Matt Smith is the villain.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it probably is Matt Smith. But who? I hope he's just not random guy number 5 that was the scientist that screwed up his experiment. I'm just trying to think of who he could even be.
According to Wikipedia, he's playing Hunger. Or I guess his civilian name is Lucius Crown.
Opens Google. Lucius Crown, otherwise known as Hunger, is a fictional character in American comic books published by... What does this Joker look like? They don't even... Oh, that's never a good sign when Wikipedia doesn't even have a picture. That's not good. Species. Alter ego, Lucius Crown. Species, living vampire. Team affiliations, Hydra. Abilities, genius level intellect, superhuman strength, speed, durability, flight, hypnosis, accelerated healing factor, resilience, consuming human blood, dark force manipulation. William Fields. Wow, okay. I think they dug through the depths for someone that they could put Morbius up against and then just got that guy.
That is definitely a deep cut.
Because when Wikipedia doesn't even have a picture, oh boy.
Yep.
Like, Snowflame, the living cocaine addict, has a picture. This guy doesn't. But yeah, we're getting off the beaten path. Go watch Eternals. It was really good. So I nitpicked a bunch of stupid stuff, but that's how movie details go. My favorite.
That's the thing. Like, all the criticisms I had were nitpicks. Otherwise, I fucking love this thing.
Absolutely, it was great. No movie's perfect. No movie's ever going to be perfect. Just go give it a shot and give things a try if you were genuinely interested. Don't be like, I think that was really great. Reviews come out. Well, all of them didn't like it. Brah. Just don't be those people, please. I mean, if legitimately it has a fucking like 0, then yes. But all right. So we're going to get on out of here because I got to go to work in the morning. Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at CaptainK42. Check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Find us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need to escape? So do we.
Yes, and you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. And yeah, that's going to be it for today. Try and get this up right away before I go and see it again tomorrow, but we will see you all next time. Later.
Peace.